Hey guys, so I'm not sure how the lighting is in this video. This is filmed at nighttime, so I don't expect it to be great, and this is a weird setup, so just kind of hang with me. We're going to get through this together, but recently I mentioned in a video that I updated my weekly makeup bag and showed you what I was using every day. I'm going to go through the palettes that I've been using. So what I did is I researched on YouTube kind of how are people using their palettes, how were they rotating through them, because people are pairing them together. So I found this really cool video and I will link it below. She was saying that she pairs her palettes together, so she uses a more colorful one with a more neutral one, or one that's more inspiring with a not so inspiring one, and that gets a good use out of it. But each palette she's only using like one day. So I had been using mine once a week and then trying to get as many looks out of it as I can in that week. But I think it's really going to benefit me to just go through one every day and just get a new palette, and that might inspire me and really get me back into love with some of the palettes that I haven't been using. So that's what I'm going to do. I've gone through my whole collection and I've paired up my palettes, and this is an updated video of like the palettes I've used so far. So I watched a video by Samantha March the other day, and she did a palette bingo on the Lorac Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales palette. And so if you don't know what a palette bingo is, each shade in here is numbered across. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. And then you go online and just find a random number generator, and you pick 1 through however many are in the palette, and then you hit generate and it pulls up a number, and then that's the shadow that you use. So I had a picture up on my Instagram page of the look that I used for this, and I really liked it. It was a blue kind of smoky look to it, but I really loved the look that I got out of this, and so I think that's how I'm going to use some of these larger palettes that maybe I'm kind of uninspired with. I love all the shades in this, but sometimes it's hard for me to come up with looks because I'm not a makeup artist and I don't really have that artist mind all the time. So that was a good way for me to come up with a cool look that I might not have thought of. So I just got 5 different shades, and then I went in and kind of made my own look out of those. So I was using this one, really, really loving it. So inspired again to use that. So I'm glad that was one of the palettes that came up. Also, another way that I'm using the palettes is kind of the same way. I'm hitting the random number generator, and that's the palette number. So I told you I have a list of 1 through 66. I've already paired the palettes together on that list, and then I hit random number generator and it pulls up a number, and then that's the palette I'm using. So I think that's kind of a cool way so that I'm not just picking and choosing what I want to use. I'm kind of like forced to use certain ones. Another one that I generated was the Carli Bybel palette. So this is a really nice palette. Lots of neutrals, of course, you can see that, and then the highlighter shades at the bottom, so it's really nice. It pushed me to use different highlights than what I had been using. I'm kind of trying to rotate through those as well, but not as much as the eyeshadows. I really need to use the eyeshadows. So lots of neutral looks came from this palette, but really loving this. This is the deluxe palette. I do have the original also, and I do love this palette. It's just I have so many palettes I don't gravitate towards them, but I was glad to pull that one out again and use it because it is a really, really nice palette, and the highlights in there are so pretty, so I'm so glad I went back to using that. 2 more highlight palettes that I was using. I went back to my Anastasia Glo Kit, and I really love this. I had more of a tan than I do now, so these colors looked really nice on me. We had some really warm weather, so it looked nice on my tan skin. I was kind of out in the sun, and it looked really, really pretty. So these are a lot of golds, as you can see, so it starts light, and then it gets deeper into even the bronze. This one I use as a bronzer, like a shimmery bronzer. This one is probably my favorite snow because it looks good on my skin all year round, but love this. I know this is a more glittery palette, but I really do love that, and I get a lot of good use out of it. So really enjoying that palette. I also went back to using my Jacqueline Hill palette, so I'm not going to pull it out, but we all know what it looks like. It has the 3 blushes on the top and then the 2 highlighters. Was loving all of it. I pulled it out mainly for the blushes, but then I was like, oh, I have the highlighters, might as well use those too. So I was glad to use this. Like I mentioned in a recent video, I haven't used it for a while, and it was kind of one of those, oh, it was limited edition, it's going to run out, but if I'm not using it, what's the point of having it? So I want to really use up my products like that I have, get some good use out of it. Obviously I purchased it for a reason because I really loved it, so let's like actually get some use out of it now. The Too Faced Nikki Tutorials Power of Makeup palette. This is one that I purchased because I love Nikki, I love Too Faced, but I'm kind of uninspired by the colors in here. So it was really cool. I did a palette bingo on this as well. I came up with the bronzer shade, and then I did use one of the blushes in here. And then my look actually was so funny because for as much color as in this palette, I got the most neutral look. So I got the shade Ivy, Painkiller, Makeup and Chill, Mystic Hour, and Wanted. So like, how did that even happen? But I used this all over the lid, crease, I defined the crease, I used that on the lid, and then this was the outer corner. Kind of I could predict that kind of look from that, but it was really cool that I got something so simple and I got good use out of that. So that was another day. Also, another super neutral palette. I was using my Lorac Pro. This was actually before I started the new kind of like project that I'm doing, and I did use all of these colors. There's some really pretty colors in here, but my problem with it is that some of them look so similar on the eyes. This medallion color I was so excited for when I saw this palette for the first time, and it's just so chunky, and I'm not one to use fixing sprays, so that kind of disappointed me. But going back into it, I did get a lot of good use. I love this terracotta shade right there. It's such a poopy brown color that I just really love, and paired with another colorful palette, I think this is really nice. So that's kind of what I did. I was pairing it with some other palettes. I paired it with my Too Faced Festival palette, so that actually helped me get a lot of nice, well-rounded looks out of that. And then another one that I pulled, because this is not one that I gravitate towards, this is the Perfect Me, Perfect Hue from Stila. This is kind of one of the ones I bingoed. And I mean, I came up with my own look. This is a palette where if I draw this in the random number generator, I don't have to like palette bingo this because it's simple. Like I did this all over the lid, I did this in the crease, this defined the crease, this was the bright shiny shimmery lid color, and then the outer corner, and then I used this blush here. Kind of very simple to make a look out of this, so I didn't have to palette bingo to get a good look. But I do like it. It's nice for travel. It is very, very pretty on the eyes. It is very like natural, everyday. So if you are that kind of person, you're just looking for an easy palette you can go to every day, you can pick up, you can look professional, this is a great palette. I do recommend it. It's just not one that I go into my collection and I'm like, I need to use this today. So I was actually glad that I pulled this one because it needs some more use, and there are a lot of pretty looks that come from another neutral palette that I picked was the Aspen and Tarte palette. This is a very new palette. It's what I have on my eyes today, and the cheek highlight is from this. The blush is from this. So I went in with Married Life to set my primer, and then I used High School Sweetheart in the crease. I deepened it with, oh no, I'm sorry. I used Santorini Sands in the crease. I deepened it with High School Sweetheart. I'll get this right eventually. I put Endless Summer all over the lid, and then I deepened the outer corner with Road Trip. So very pretty. Love this. This is like me in a palette. This is so natural and pretty, and if you haven't picked it up, I think it's worth it. Sorry, it's a little shimmery, so it's kind of blinding you maybe. But I really do love this. I think it's a great palette, worth picking up. Again, I know it's new, but it was nice to go back to and use because I really do love it, and that's the reason I picked it up. So that was really awesome. And then I'm just going to throw in a couple things that I reused recently since we're kind of in this video. Real quick at the end, I'll just mention them. So Love Flush Blush. Went through and used one of these every day, and I think I used it twice before I put it in the bag. And again, a nice collection of colors, just I don't use it a lot, so one of those things I want to keep rotating through my collection, as well as this Hourglass palette. This was the 2016, I believe, and this blush is what I was using. I need to use all of the bottom products here. The top ones are empty, except for this one. This is Diffuse Light, maybe? And I really just need to get some good use on the bronzers and the blushes, but yeah, it's kind of one of those ones that I don't want it to be finished yet, but I need to get good use out of it. What's the point of having it if I don't? Wet n Wild Contouring Palette, I've talked about this. I had it in my kind of like project pan thing, but I decided to just kind of put it off because I wanted to go back to using my Kat Von D palette because I have it and I don't really use it that often. So I decided to put this on the side for now, and you can see I'm getting some nice wear out of it. It will be rotated out of my collection pretty soon with a little bit more use. I think it's going to start falling apart, and then I'm just going to kind of throw it out and get a new palette because it's like, what, $4.99 or something. There's no point of holding on. I've used it for like 2 years now. I'm getting a lot of good use, so might as well get a new one. Then my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in the shade Bronzer. This is just, you know, everybody loves this. I don't use it that often, so I put it into the rotation again. I was also using the Brighten Up palette, Brighten Up powder from Essence, and I was using this with the Wet n Wild. I kind of contoured, and then I went under the eyes with this. Very pretty, very brightening. Love that. And it's like $1, and then lip products, I have a Too Faced Lip Injection Glossy in the shade Like a Boss. It looks purple in the tube, but on the lips it just adds a nice little bit of color. Buxom. This is the full-on lip polish in Tammy. It's kind of that NARS Orgasm kind of pink with gold in it, and really, really pretty. It has that minty tingle. I really like Buxom products. And I did have another one. This is the full-on lip polish in Sugar. This is more of a brown pink like combination, and this one is very shimmery, so that one is super pretty. I have 2 of the Ulta Nude, yeah, 2 or 3. 2 of the Ulta Nude collection. This is in 258. This is a very pretty nude, just nice everyday colors. So I threw that on because I'm doing summer school, so like when I have students, I'm just like throwing on a color, and then that way I don't have to mess with it all day long. It's nude, so you know. This is 240 Pink Chocolate, and this is more of a pink brown, very pretty. And then I have 4 more things. So I have the Anastasia Liquid Lip in the shade Stripped. This is a pretty nude. Also, I found this at Marshall's recently, and that's the first time I actually had a liquid lip from her, but I love that color. Also went back to using my Tarte's lip paint in the shade Festival. This is that really pretty like mauve-y nude, which I love, and this formula is so great. This is the matte formula, which I love. The LA Girl Pro Concealer Peach Corrector. I'm not a huge fan of this. I honestly am going to try to move it out of my collection soon. I want to just get a little bit more use out of it, and or maybe just finish it up at this point. And then the last thing I had was Insanity, which is a cream formula lipstick from Urban Decay, and it's just that nice peachy nude everyday shade. So those are the things I've been using recently, really enjoying. So if you guys have any recommendations of ways I should use palettes or products that I need to go back to using, please let me know below. I will link that video that I recommended and that really inspired me to rotate through my collection below as well, and I will talk to you guys soon.